guy who's doing nothing of his job. Grade 12 choice 2. 14th of July, first half hour. Right, on your bottoms.
So, you know.
Yes, but
that's what you get.
Okay, I'll just stand here at the front and mumble quietly to myself while you have a social event.
Why is everybody in this room?
I don't know. Because you're there, Josh.
Oh,
They like.
Germany had food. Everyone's hand
Guys are little wussies. Now you want to use my hand cream because it's fine. Your granny is probably younger than I am. Be very careful. I do mark your work, my child. Just take care. To be quite honest, this is Mrs. Florenza's favourite one, and this was part of my welcome to the school at the beginning of the year present from her. Right, okay. Any hassles with yesterday's stuff? Everyone's going, what? We had a lesson yesterday?
I couldn't find anything online yesterday at the time, or even later. So I just wrote notes on the first bit of.
Yeah, so it's been sent to Mr. Well, I mean, it's gone on the memory card from the camera, and he then has to download it.
I also looked for a Google Resource.
Oh, I didn't exist for a while.
Oh, okay.
I was doing all this work, but apparently I wasn't even on the staff. So I was sending you emails, copious emails, with love and I care about you and do some work and blah blah, and all that rubbish. And they weren't reaching you because I wasn't allowed to send you emails.
What?
Don't rock on that chair, Michelle. William, if she rocks, kick her. See, she's moved from you, Bunga. Here's Josh.
Man, for let's say I don't come to school tomorrow, and then for choice to, it's cold, man.
Tomorrow's warmer than today, by like 4 degrees or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the heater at home is pretty nice.
Me, the heater.
Anyway, man, how do we join the lesson, right? Do we just, or do you
No,
say
you
how
may
like
not.
it means?
Actually, no, I guess I don't joke with you kids because some of your parents take this seriously when I joke. My darling, I will send you an invitation.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. It's cool. You're in
This is a child who's going to be like a surgeon, and somebody's lying there under anesthetic, and they're going to be going, so where's the surgeon? Oh no, it's cold. You stayed at home. Sorry that you're already under anesthetic and somebody's already
just
coming
leave
out.
your minutes of hot summer's day.
Then you'll be like, it's too hot, I can't work at this
Shorts. Shorts and theatre. What's up?
Yeah, Josh. Nobody has any faith.
Not always more as I respect.
Okay, right, going. So, the theory of evolution is a scientific theory. Remember, we discussed that. And I was looking for a video to show you, and I found it afterwards. So, let's watch the video. Okay, right, ready, steady, go.
My friend has a theory that Elvis isn't really dead. He says that Elvis got tired of the limelight.
Okay, right, go ahead.
that Elvis isn't really dead. He says that Elvis got tired of the limelight and faked his own death. He also has a theory that aliens regularly come to the Earth, but the government keeps their visits a secret. His weirdest theory is that all the leaders of the world are actually shape-shifting extraterrestrial reptiles pretending to be human. I have a hunch that my friend only says these things to make himself sound clever down the pub. You could say that I have a theory about my friend's theories. But really, I'm just guessing at what motivates him to say such outlandish things. My theory about my friend is just a theory. It could be wrong. Maybe he really does believe the things he says, in which case there may be other explanations or theories to explain why my friend is such a fan of these conspiracy theories. As for me, I'm a fan of scientific theories, like the Big Bang Theory, the theory of evolution by natural selection, the germ theory of disease, plate tectonics theory, the theories of special and general relativity, and my favourite, quantum theory. Some people say that these are just theories and believe that they have not been proven by science. They talk and think about them as somehow inferior ideas about how the world works because they're called theories rather than, say, facts or laws. But these people are mistaken. It's not entirely their fault. It's because the word theory doesn't mean quite the same thing in the world of science as it does when used in general conversation, where it can mean a guess, or a hunch, or something that isn't quite known for sure. When scientists call something a theory, they mean a set of ideas that does three things. One, a scientific theory puts forward a comprehensive explanation for things we observe in nature. Two, a scientific theory provides strong evidence for that explanation. And three, perhaps most importantly, a scientific theory provides ways to make predictions about the aspects of the world it explains, which we can then test by further observation. In everyday conversation, we can dismiss someone's idea about something by saying, it's just a theory. But we can't dismiss the theories of Darwin and Einstein and other great scientists in the same way. In science, an idea about how the world works usually only gets accepted as a theory once it's been tested and shown to be supported by observations and other evidence. Things that are distinctly lacking from theories about Elvis's continued existence, alien visits to the Earth, and shape-shifting reptiles running the world. What I'm trying to say is that it doesn't make sense to belittle an idea in science by saying it's just a theory. Because when scientists refer to an idea as a theory, well, they're giving it the highest praise it can have.
Glad you enjoyed it. We have some very cool videos coming up.
Oh,
Okay.
man, before I forget,
Yes.
wait, what's...
You're not coming to school tomorrow?
No,
because it's cold.
I need
No,
this,
what the hell? What's the time?
Do you know what you're gonna set when the sample test coming up?
No.
You don't, okay.
What are you going to ask me?
Like, what's in the test? The sample test coming up.
You know you got a daily planner
Yeah?
that told you what was in it? That's what's in it.
Did it?
It absolutely did. It did give the wrong date. I'll be honest, it gave the wrong
Wait,
date.
okay.
And that was when I sent you one of the 1,000 emails that
Yeah,
apparently
so
I
the
didn't
results
exist and I wasn't allowed to
Genetics,
contact you.
DNA, and meiosis.
Oh, what?
Meiosis.
Meiosis? I forgot about that.
Like, as in meiosis from like
Meiosis?
6 years ago.
I was here, I told you meiosis. I've only been here for 6 years.
Oh.
What is it? What's it on?
You're asking what is DNA?
No,
He's asking what's meiosis.
DNA, meiosis, and genetics.
Meiosis is like
He
meiosis.
said you enjoyed it too.
No, I'm not. Go
So
take
is that
your
much?
fucking weekly plan, it's 3 sections.
Sure.
I still don't trust them.
Say again?
Don't trust me. It's fine. Always better
No,
to
I
be honest.
promise you.
Let me check.
DNA, meiosis, and genetics.
That's a lot, eh?
So it is a lot.
It is a lot.
Best you start learning.
This is coming.
It might have been in the
It's in the
no, it
daily
was in the
planner.
daily planner. It was in the daily. It was
Wait, so what date is it?
whatever.
think
In
it's
one of the
24.
planners, it said
I
it's
I
in
think it's a
16.
weekly plan.
Yeah, it's
24.
24.
So you've got 9 days.
Next week
that
Friday.
No, 10 days.
Physics on Monday.
Friday.
Oh my god.
Double science, same week. We can do it.
Is there maths that week?
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
What the heck?
But remember that this is, you've got 3 tests. This will be your 3rd test for life sciences, of which 2 go in your portfolio. Your 2 best ones go into your portfolio. So may I suggest for some of you, you work, what is this doing?
Wait, so that week we have maths?
We have maths,
We
and we have science, and we have bio.
Isn't science next week?
Yes,
That's
next
the
week,
same
Monday.
week.
Science
Wait,
is
what
next
test is next week?
Josh-
Yes, next week Friday.
Joshua, science is next week Monday. Bio
Science-
is next week Friday.
I think the maths is probably
We don't
Wednesday
know.
or something.
We don't know.
Yeah, no, man hasn't told us about maths.
Oh,
I'm just thinking
Well,
kids education.
I think we'll just set it for two.
I think that you
I think we
being
can go
really, really practiced and expert Bowley College students, while in no way slating you at all, why don't you do the pathetic thing? You know the thing you guys normally do?
complain.
Tell them to
That's,
move the
hey,
day.
pathetic is worse than complain.
Wait, but
What's-
also the
what's
science
the
test,
basic thing
it's
now?
a
You do the
chemistry test,
same
so
hard
we
dump
can
up.
pick.
How can
Actually,
you
we can
even
pick last year's
think we
test
can do
for this
3
one
tests
because
in the
it's
same
not-
way?
Yeah,
But
this
how
is
do you
the
guys
right
do
answer.
that?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Sorry,
Because wait until you get to varsity and you've got 3 tests in one day.
Wait,
And it happens.
because the-
And nobody
the chemistry
cares.
test last year.
I think
Because
that
next
counts
year you
for-
should care.
But we can
No,
pick
you
that
don't
one
care.
next week.
No, wait. I do teach here. I do care. Yes, I am listening. I do care. I do care very little.
This is
I
what
care
I'm
very
saying.
little. No, shh, I'm trying to do my password now. You guys are talking to me.
She has a question.
I'm listening. Excuse me,
Growing on about the God, I don't understand. Who doesn't care?
I don't. I don't.
About what?
About the fact that you've got 3 tests next week.
First one's on the house.
That you're gonna suffer.
Unfortunately, ma'am, that's my trick.
Why are you telling me?
Did you hear that? Yes. Can I tell you who it was? I've recorded the meeting.
We know, it's Chinese.
Charlize, you're a science.
Charlize, I love you. I'll give you an
One
extra
of
2
those
marks.
two subjects
Wait,
I
no.
also shouldn't say.
Yeah, Chinese.
Yeah, you got.
Yeah.
Right, Michelle, just get up and, because the remote doesn't work.
Kick the chick.
No, I said kick it if she rocks.
Look at
Like now. No. Okay, right. So I'm not wasting a half an hour of 3 half hours.
Ma'am, can you close up? Bathroom.
No, you've just got to class. No, I'm going. I'm ready.
No, this is not
Thanks.
sanitized.
She said no.
Oh.
I hate this.
What, that's sanitized?
Oh,
yeah, but...
They don't use pee as hand sanitizer. Hands get cleaner.
Why would you believe anything wrong with this?
What do you use for hand sanitizer?
Hmm?
What do you use for hand sanitizer?
It was urine. He uses urine.
Oh, Bonga, this thing's going to take till I die. Run. Or hobble slowly.
Get your hands off this cleaning.
And save some food before your hands.
If you see Mr. Hughes. Please tell them I don't have any hand sanitizer in my...
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, run, because it's about to start. Nowhere in my 3 degrees did I learn what to do if I didn't have hand sanitizer.
It was a different world then now.
Oh, we just went outside and ate soil and smart. We were hard.
Well, just go barefoot with grass on the floor.
In the snow.
Yeah, that's
Snow. Where'd you grow up?
The Sutu, like that's really best.
Did you see in Cape Town, like,
Did you-
it's like foaming?
I remember seeing it
But did you see that it snowed in the Kalahari, Ruth?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. I think Sunday.
What?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yo, my dad's like, I was looking at tickets at 16.
My mom speaks about how she used to go buy cigarettes for her dad, and I'm just sitting there going,
I'll go buy
because
some.
that was legal,
Yeah,
so I used to go
yeah.
buy cigarettes.
My dad's from the
Hey.
West End.
My mother caught me smoking age 9 when I nearly took my friend's house about.
Okay, you can't leave that story hanging now.
I was not a good child, I have to be quite honest, which is why I understand when you guys are being naughty. Okay, you didn't have a good childhood like I did. I had the most amazing childhood.
It's well.
You're hungry, you're hungry. Okay, alright, so we were here. Okay. So this is one of those sections where your definitions are critically important. Okay, really, really important. Because they will give, and I know that I've told you this for 3 other sections, but this is one where it does happen all the time. They give you a scenario, they describe a scenario, it's not stuff you've ever heard about, and they say, is this an example of macroevolution or microevolution? And if you haven't learned those definitions, you can't say it's macro and justify it, or it's micro and justify it. Okay, so remember that microevolution is a series of changes within a species. It's not a new species. Macroevolution is a series of changes, blah, 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 which results in a new species. And how do you test if it's a new species? You would try and breed them with individuals of the existing species. If they're able to reproduce and produce fertile offspring, then it's the same species, it would be microevolution. If you've got a big enough sample and they haven't been able to reproduce and produce fertile offspring, it's macroevolution. And you have to be able to explain all those things. So what affects gene frequencies in a population? I've spoken about mutation, and we've done mutation in 3 separate sections this year. You definitely should know that. You happy about migration? Okay, genetic drift we need to talk about. And so we do those. Genetic drift, and this is terribly important because you're going to learn about something called gene flow, and gene flow and genetic drift are very different, and you have to be careful that you don't confuse them. So genetic drift is a random change in the frequency of alleles in a population over successive generations due to chance. Absolutely due to chance. So it's not like it's an advantage or it's a disadvantage, etc. It's completely random, it's completely due to chance. So in each generation, some individuals may, just by chance, leave behind a few more descendants, and therefore obviously a few more of their genes, than other individuals. And therefore, the genes of the following generation would be the genes of the lucky individuals, not necessarily the healthier or better or fitter individuals. So if, for example, here are 3 green beetles and 6 brown beetles, and this guy walks along and squashes 2 of the three green beetles, then it's by chance that the following generation has a higher proportion of brown beetles than green beetles than this generation did. It's random, it's by chance. Okay, and so that's genetic drift. Okay, so an example would be, this is a different example, and here what it is individuals in generation 1 and the different colors of the genes. So in this diagram, the different alleles, for color, flower color. So in the first generation, this generation, the red genes, or you could say red alleles, or alleles for red flowers, form 17% of the alleles, because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so there are 3 individuals, and only one of them is heterozygous gray-red. So 1 out of 6 is 17%. They produce gametes. It's random which gametes fuse. It's absolutely random which gametes make it to fuse. And therefore, randomly in the second generation, 25% in the gene frequency, 25% are for red flowering. And randomly in the fusion of gametes, in the third generation, 44% of them are for red flowering. So it's just absolutely, completely random. So that is genetic drift. Okay. All right. Then this is natural selection. And this is, yep.
Just on genetic drift, so say one flower is of a certain color, was the pollen from that flower happened to fall on and fertilize more different flowers than the different colors. So say that the red flower fertilized, just because of the way the wind blew all the plants, is that genetic drift? Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely an example of genetic drift. I mean, genetic drift happens every time a couple conceives a baby.
Yeah.
Because out of all those sperm, the chance of that sperm that carries that particular allele reaching is like, it's random. Okay, now you have to understand this. This is the whole critical issue behind evolution. So it is evolution by natural selection. So there is variation between individuals in the population. And if you look here, here's a population of mice, and there are 4 grey mice and there are 4 white mice. And here flies a raptor. Okay, I hope you know what a raptor is, because you guys don't know what an elephant shrew is.
Is it a
raptor was a dinosaur.
Not a dinosaur.
That's a turkey. That's a
Dinosaurs.
Okay, no, it's a
Technically the
raptor.
same thing.
So it is a bird of prey, and it has big talons, which are claws, by means of which it is able to grab prey and it is able to kill them. Generally, birds of prey, or some of the raptors, kill by means of their talons. They don't kill by means of their beaks. So they've got big, curved, strong, hooked beaks, but that's normally for eating their prey. It's not normally for killing their prey, but that's neither here. And this bird flies over here and sees some mice and picks up a mouse and takes it off and kills it and eats it. And because the background is grey, the grey mice are better camouflaged than the white mice, and therefore it's more likely that this bird of prey will pick up a white mouse. Okay, and therefore, after a few generations, there will be fewer white mice remaining and more grey mice remaining. What's the matter? Okay, right, you happy, guys? So some phenotypes, and you've got to understand this. Some phenotypes, do you remember the word phenotype?
Yeah.
Thank you. Is concerning, you have a genetics test next week and you don't remember the word phenotype, but anyway, are more successful than others. The word that is often used is they are fitter. It doesn't mean they are able to run upstairs faster and pant less at the top. It means that they are better suited for survival. And therefore, because of that, they survive for longer. If an individual survives for longer than another individual, then it's got more chances to reproduce because it's living for longer. If it's got more chances to reproduce, it will probably produce more of the following generation. And if it's healthier, it will also probably produce more individuals in the next generation. Okay, so that then is natural selection. So the white mice have been selected against, and the grey mice have been selected for. So the allele for grey colour has been selected for, and the allele for white colour has been selected against. So some examples of microevolution are things like antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Okay, so you know that many bacteria have nowadays built up a resistance to antibiotics, and therefore if an individual takes antibiotics, sometimes those bacteria won't die. So it's not the person that is resistant, it is the bacteria in that individual that are resistant to antibiotics. Be careful how you say that. But there are all sorts of things. There are pesticide-resistant organisms. So some things that eat crops, for example, even though they're sprayed with pesticide, they're resistant to that pesticide and they don't die. Okay. They're herbicide resistant, so you need to know what this word herbicide means. So herbicides are chemicals that are used to kill weeds. So what farmers do when they plant their crops, they'll have a row of crop, then a space, then a row of crop, then a space, then a row of crop. And what happens is weeds come and grow in between the crops. And the problem with having weeds growing in between the crops is that the weeds compete with the crop plants for space, for water, for soil minerals, etc. For sunlight perhaps, even if they grow a little bit bigger than the crop plants do. And therefore, the crop plants are actually disadvantaged. So what farmers do is they spray the crops with herbicides. And the herbicides, depending on the nature of the crop, might only kill the weeds. So many monocotyledonous plants, like sugarcane and wheat, are not killed by weed killers. But dicotyledonous plants are killed by weed killers. And most of the weeds are dicotyledonous plants. So if a farmer's got sugarcane and dicot weeds, sugarcane, dicot weeds, and goes and sprays that, in theory, it'll be the weeds that die and the crops that remain. And that means that there's less competition for his crop plants. But the problem is many weed plants have developed a resistance to these herbicides, these weed killers that should kill them.